Thank you for joining us. Sikot Johnson, thank you for joining. Greetings, comrade. Hello. Hello, Renee. Hello, Bromhilda. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you, comrade. Good evening, everyone. Amba Squad, good evening. We appreciate you all for taking the time to join us. Greetings to you too, Bromhilda. We appreciate you all for taking the time to join us. We will have another very interesting conversation today. We'll be talking about the surprises that Paul Biya has for the people of Southern Cameroons in the next 2 weeks. So, all right. So as you join, you share. Elias Egbe Orok, thanks for joining. Lord, thanks for joining. Comrade Ayuk Paul, thanks for joining. Yes. It's a lot of interesting things. We'd like to talk to the Ambazonian people today. It's a lot of surprises that Paul Biya has for the Ambazonian people, for the people of Southern Cameroons. We will be uncovering and helping the people to discover more of Biya new strategies. Then we will also be looking into the new report that just came out from the US Congress and the Security Council, and also the European Union position on the Southern Cameroons quest or the conflict in Southern Cameroons, and how that is going to determine what exactly would really happen in Southern Cameroons. All right, so this is an educational platform. This is where we are going to educate you. We're going to give you the deeper structures or strategies that Biya is using. But most importantly, we're going to tell you what the US is thinking of doing, what some of the European Union is thinking of doing, and what the Security Council is thinking of doing, irrespective of what the people of Southern Cameroon think that should happen. All right. We'll also be looking at how has the leadership, which is the failed leadership within the revolution, how that has contributed to help to change the international opinion of the conflict. All right. So this is an educational platform. This is a leadership psychology platform. This is a platform for objectivity. So we will be bringing in our key expert again, who we are going to have this discussion with, because we are going to dive into the dynamics of how international perception, opinion, and policy is going to really determine what happens on the ground. Not so much what people think they are doing in the diaspora. All right. So I'm very happy that you've taken the time to join us. You're going to be getting great education here. By the way, let's clarify a few things. We are not here to entertain you. We are not here to please you. We're not here to please a leader. This is an educational platform about what exactly is happening in your revolution, what exactly the world is thinking, what exactly their positions are. And then we're helping you to uncover Biya strategies that he's been using against the revolution, whether it's from within, whether it's using agents within, infiltrators, or whatever. We're going to help you understand those things. But as I've said, Biya has surprises for the Ambazonian people. We're going to be telling you what those surprises are. All right? So thanks for joining. This will be very interesting. This is not your regular activism. This is not your traditional platform where people go and hang out. There will be a lot of education here. So pay attention very closely. It's exciting, it's inspiring, and we are going to be telling you what the Ambazonian people need to do if they are serious in their quest for restoration of independence. Okay? We're going to be telling you that. So as you join, Share the video as many times as you can and invite a lot of people to participate. As you know, this is an educational platform. We're going to be giving you great education. We're going to be giving you great tools and helping you to understand what Biya is doing, what the world is doing, how the world is helping Biya. And if the Ambazonian people have to make the choice, whether they are moving in the right direction or they have been doing the wrong things and how they can change that. So we're going to be talking to you about that, all right? So we're going to bring in our key expert, whom I'm going to have this conversation and dialogue with, in which we are going to together shape and help you have this education today. So it's always a pleasure for me to be on this platform. It's a place of service. It's a place to make contribution to the revolution. It's a place to educate, to empower people, because without education, people get lost, all right? So no matter what is happening out there, we will bring you here to get you back into objectivity, to have critical analysis, not only looking at the revolution from a perspective of what the Ambazonian people are doing, but from the perspective of what is it that Paul Biya is doing, and also what is it that the world understands about what's happening, and what does the Western world, the United Nations, the United States, what do they really think how this situation should end? So we're going to be talking to you about that, all right? So it's very interesting. I'm very delightful to be here. I'm very appreciative of your time you've taken to join us, whether you're watching from Ground Zero or the refugee camps, whether you're watching from the Middle East or Persian Gulf, or you're watching from China, or you're watching from mainland Europe. It's my pleasure to welcome you here. I greet you, I salute you for your dedication and your patriotism and your contribution to this revolution. Now, I would like you to know that as we have this discussion, the whole purpose of why we have this intellectual, objective, empirical, analytical conversation is so that we can have deeper understandings of what exactly is going on within our revolution, not necessarily what people want to hear, all right? So without education, people get lost, and I'm grateful that we've created a platform where we can help people to have education, and as well as objectivity, and then inspiration and tools and strategies. That's what we are. It's a leadership platform. So welcome on board, guys. Share the video one more time before we start, and we bring in our guest expert. I am always, Peace Plan is here. Welcome, sir. I see you. Yeah. We're just going to take a minute and a half to sing our anthem, all right, in honor of our new nation. So join me to sing the anthem. If you already know how to sing the anthem, you can sing it with pride. You can stand up to sing it. You can sit down to sing it. You can follow along. You can follow my voice to sing it, or you can just happy listening as I sing it. So Royal Dennis, welcome. Nkai Kum, welcome. Everybody, welcome. Amber Peace Plan is here. Yes. All right, let's get started. Hail, hail, hail this land of glory, we the Ambazonians to pledge our loyalty. Praise the Son, our Savior, who granted us the freedom, allegiance to the heroes who bore the land with their blood. Glory to the glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation flowing with milk and honey. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our needs. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our needs. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation. Good evening, my fellow Ambazonians. Good evening to those of you on Ground Zero. Good evening to those of you in Europe. Good night or early morning to those of you in Asia. And good afternoon to those of you in North America. My name is Lucas Asu. It's a great privilege to be with you all today. we're going to have an interesting conversation. We will be talking about the surprises that Paul Biya has for the Ambazonian people. We're talking about surprises Paul Biya has for the Ambazonian people, for him to kill the revolution and then regain total control of Southern Cameroons and keep it as an integral part of La République du Cameroun. Paul Biya has some serious surprises for the Ambazonian people in just the next coming 2 weeks, which is in the new year. All right? So listen up very carefully. We will also be examining and analyzing and giving you perspective of the new report from the US Congress and the US position on the Southern Cameroons, on the conflict in Southern Cameroons, and how that report or the US position, it's going to greatly determine not what the Ambazonian people think they want, not what they think they are doing, but it's going to greatly determine what actually happened in Southern Cameroons, irrespective of what the people think their wishes are. So we will be having these great discussions. We will also be looking at how has the failed leadership within the revolution helped to shift international opinion to tilt towards La République du Cameroun, and what the Ambazonian people, because it's their revolution, what they can do in order to refocus their energy to tilt the revolution towards its destined path. That's the conversation for today. We're breaking in the surprises that Paul Biya has for the people of Southern Cameroons. All right? So I hope the people are ready. Are you ready to receive the education? Are you ready to understand what is going on? Let's bring in our guest expert. Again, I would like to take the time to thank and welcome all of you that have decided to participate on this unique platform, which is a very unique place where we get real great education, analysis, and perspective on leadership psychology and how things actually happen. All right? So we are not here, as I've said again, we are not here to please you. We are not here to get you to like us. We are educators. We are coaches. We are leadership experts. We are here to give you perspective of what is happening, whether you want to hear it or not. But it's going to greatly shape what happens in Southern Cameroons, irrespective of what the people think they're doing. All right? So this is a place in which you get educated, you get inspired, you get empowered, you get elevated. So, so welcome, my people. Welcome. Let's bring in our expert guest. Grace. Hello, Comrade Grace. Welcome. James, welcome. James Warren, welcome. Here you are. Yes, sir.
Hello, comrade. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly, sir.
How are you doing?
We are doing great. We're very delighted to have you join us again today to empower,
but
educate.
I seem not to be able to hear you.
You can hear me? Okay. Yes, we can hear you very clearly. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you now quite well.
Great.
Yeah, good evening, comrade. Good evening, everyone. Welcome again. And we hope today is going to be another very inspiring day for all of us. So thank you again for inviting me.
As always, it's a great pleasure to have you to have you talk to our people. It's a great pleasure to have you on our platform. Your perspectives have been incredibly nourishing for our people. I'm having calls even from within La République government as to how you and I know these things How you and I know these things so much into greater detail? I actually had a call today from the inner circle of the Republic government telling me about the fact that they watched our last video, and the guy was telling me that he says, please keep this. He said, look, what you guys are talking on your platform, I don't know how you know this, but we are paying close attention to what you guys are discussing on your platform, because the level of research and analysis and empirical data, it's on point.
That is what happens when you actually take time to study things and analyze what is happening. You kind of get a sense of what is happening, and you can use that to direct your actions and direct the revolution. So I really hope that not only the people in the La Republique circles, although even if they are our people, not only them are listening, but the leadership of our revolution is also listening and taking notes. As you said, this is an education platform. We are not, we don't belong to any group. I don't belong to any group. I am a Southern Cameroonian. I am an Ambazonian. My priority is Ambazonia, not the welfare of any group. So we hope that our leaders are listening. They are picking one or two things, and they are using it in order to run this revolution. And we also encourage other Ambazonians who have great ideas to also take time to contribute. Let's not only say it's the leadership, this revolution actually is the people's revolution. And everybody in this revolution is a leader. Everybody in this revolution is an activist. So let's not assign those names only to certain individuals. As Southern Cameroonians, we all have the right to be active participants. So we should take that position and push this revolution forward.
All right, sir. Again, we want to take the time to welcome our viewers and want to take the time to thank you, sir, for making the time to have this conversation with us. There is so much happening within our revolution, and it's significant that our people understand what is happening within the revolution, what the international opinion is, and what the international positions are in the revolution. So, sir, let's get started here. Let me just ask you, if you remember, there's a lot of things you and I have predicted here. We've told the people, and these things have consistently happened as we described them. Paul Biya unleashed a new strategy to announce, to create a commission for disarmament, and immediately he created that commission. Since you've been paying attention to this very closely, there is a group of parliamentarians from Germany went to Cameroon and actually endorsed not only the Commission for Bilingualism and Multiculturalism, they also endorsed the Biya Disarmament Commission. This is a committee from the German parliament went to Cameroon to endorse the Biya Disarmament Commission and plan, as well as a group from the European Union went to Cameroon and endorsed the Biya's disarmament plan. What do you make of this?
No, this is really interesting for our people to understand, because there are a lot of things happening. Now, let's be clear here. There are a number of things happening in Cameroon. We have the Boko Haram, we have the elections, we have the issues in the Northwest and Southwest region. Now, the international community is actually listening to Cameroon. But the question we should ask ourselves is that, is the international community listening to our struggle? Because what is happening is that the international community is looking at everything that is happening in Cameroon, the Boko Haram issue, the elections, and the Southern Cameroon issue is just considered as one of the issues. You know, it's just dissolved into the numerous issues that is happening in Cameroon. And that is where we should be very worried. We should be very worried, because the international community is looking at Cameroon as having a problem. And we need to define this problem. Are we defining the problem that we are going through as a Cameroon issue, as one of the many different geopolitical, economic problems in Cameroon, or are we defining this problem as a Northwest and Southwest issue, an Anglophone problem? And so far, from my analysis of things, all what has been happening in the international community, the international community is looking at what is happening in Southern Cameroon as just one of the issues. And the reason this is happening is because we have not been forceful. We have not been speaking to the international community. We are speaking to ourselves. And that is where our leadership is failing. Our leadership, especially in the diaspora, which is supposed to be engaged in the international community, is not really actually doing that job well. And that's why our issue has just been dissolved into the many issues in Cameroon. The parliament, this is something that we should be very, very careful about. Either we wake up as Southern Cameroonians and put our problem as our problem, not the problem which is related to all the other problems, or we allow La République to define our problem for us. So this is where we need to develop a new strategy here. And the truth is that the international community is listening to the problem in Cameroon, but the international community is not listening particularly to the problems of Amazonia and considers it as one of the problems in Cameroon. So that is where we should develop a whole new strategy on what should happen. Biya has, let's look at the disarmament issue. Biya did not define the disarmament issue only related to the Northwest and Southwest. They included Boko Haram.
That's
so
right.
What they did was they put Boko Haram and Northwest and Southwest as two terrorist groups in the country that they need to disarm. So we are now considered as at the same level as Boko Haram. So what I'm saying here is that the international community, from Biya's narration of or narrative of this problem, defines us, places us as terrorist movement, our boys as terrorist movement, and it is for us Ambazonians to redefine our struggle. It is for us Cameroonians to make the international community to separate our struggle from any other issue that is happening in Cameroon. So that's my analysis of this issue.
Okay. Now, you obviously know that the United States Congress has sent out a report which they have been working on since October the 8th. And that report is out. I'm sure you've studied that report very carefully on what the US Congress is thinking about the conflict in Southern Cameroon and its position in that conflict. What do you think, in your opinion and in your perspective as a researcher, an analyst, a professor, a political lecturer, what do you think what is the impact of this US Congress report in regards to Southern Cameroons and the aspirations of the people of Southern Cameroons? What's its impact?
Now, let's before we even go into that, because what is happening in the U.S. Congress has a lot of dimensions, and I hope you remind me to come back to how that actually happened.
Please.
But if we look at it from the international perspective, what the German lawmakers did in Cameroon, what the senators are doing in Cameroon, it all falls under how the international community views our issue. Okay. Now, let us remember the Southern Cameroon issue of separation from the Republic of Cameroon is a very, very sensitive issue across in international politics. We have a case, and we have a case, and if this issue is ever brought up in the international arena, we will achieve what we are looking for, which is the restoration of our independence. But the issue is that we are now in a situation where the world will prefer to see these problems sorted out within Cameroon, because, as I said, it's a very sensitive issue. Now, the international community is facing a lot of other movements across the world. We know of the Western Sahara. We know of different other movements that are demanding Palestine, the Kurds. We know of and many other movements that are demanding independence. Now, the Cameroon case is even more clear-cut than most of these cases. And if they take this on, then they will have to grant us independence because there is no treaty of union between the Southern Cameroon and the Republic of Cameroon. So, if they take this and we win, it sets a precedent. That means that all the other organizations across the world will want to also follow suit and use the example of Southern Cameroon to also gain their independence. And that is something that the international community doesn't want to deal with. So they will prefer to have these things sorted out in Cameroon. Now, and that is what is happening. If you read the letter sent by the senators, if you look at it also, it falls in line with what the German lawmakers did. They are endorsing the issue in Cameroon, in Southern Cameroon, as one of the issues in Cameroon. The Southern Cameroon issue is just one of the issues. And they want Cameroon to resolve it as they want him to resolve Boko Haram, as they want to resolve the dispute with the elections. So this is the reason why they are doing this and so forcefully, as I said, is because they don't want to deal with the situation of the whole world. Now, other movements following Cameroon's steps, and Cameroon setting a legal, Southern Cameroon setting a legal precedence for other movements. Now, the problem that we are having, which the leaders, I'm sure, our leaders in this Ambazonian struggle, they know they have been going to the corridors of diplomacy and they have been talking and they tell them is that go and sort this out inside Cameroon. But then, behind closed doors, they have been reminded that independence is not given, it is taken. If you want your independence, you have to fight for it. And that is the reason why our self-defense is very important. The pillars of our revolution, which we talked about, are very important. We should not give up all of that. But let's be. When I talk about leadership in this revolution failing us, and sometimes people think I'm just critical of that. Let me just give you an example. Look at the resolution. Look at the letter sent by the senators. Let every Cameroonian go. Let Southern Cameroonian go and read that letter again and actually see the wordings of it. It addresses the issue of the military brutality. It also addresses the issue of school kidnapping, which in the letter it attributes it to our restoration forces. And then it talks about other issues related to Boko Haram and the rest. Now, this letter, because some of our activists are looking at it as a victory to us. Rather, we should be looking at that letter with caution, because it tells us what the international community is thinking. It tells us what the senators are thinking, and it tells us how they are willing to handle this issue. That means that they are not prepared to handle this issue as an Ambazonian issue, but as a Cameroon problem. Now, we have some of our activists who are going around claiming that they are responsible for that, because now we are made up of our leadership is made up of leaders and activists who are just following. When something happens, that's when they react and they want to join and try to claim that they are part of it, that they're the ones who made it happen. Meanwhile, we know. Let's be clear. That letter, that pressure to sign that letter didn't come from Ambazonians. It didn't come from our Ambazonian leadership. We know that part of some Southern Cameroonians, mostly from the federal movement, were invited to the US Senate and they spoke about the Cameroon case a few months ago. We know that there is an active movement, which is almost a lobby movement in
the US.
But which is not headed by Southern Cameroonians. It's mostly headed by some of our francophone Cameroonians who are in the US. That is called the Cameroon Congressional Council. They have been working with senators. They have been putting pressures on senators and congressional leaders and congressmen from not for a long time now concerning immigration issues concerning Cameroonians, and now the issue in Cameroon. Those people are not speaking for Ambazonia. They are speaking for Cameroon. They are talking, those are people who believe in a one and indivisible Cameroon, and they know that there's a problem in Cameroon. Now, let Cameroonians also understand one thing. There are two struggles going on in Cameroon today. We have the struggle being pushed by the Ambazonians, the Southern Cameroonians. Then we have the French Cameroonians now who have risen up with their own movements. We know the anti-Sardina movement and all the other groups that are protesting Biya's fake elections. And they are demonstrating across the world. They are also putting pressure on senators. And these are the people who worked for this resolution, for this letter to be sent out. So some of our Ambazonian leaders and activists today, they are just tagging along. They just want to go there and show their faces there. Let us be fooled and think that they are the ones who did this thing. But we know that they are not part of this. We are not. The problem we are having in this revolution is that we are not proactive. We are reactive. We wait for something to happen and then we jump into it. We are not going out there and actually pushing. Diaspora is failing this revolution. The people in the diaspora are failing. They are failing this revolution. The leaders are failing this revolution. I mean, they should re-strategize and think about what to do to restart diplomacy. Because, as we said, it should be strategic. What we are doing should be strategic, not just going out there and putting out information or meeting places. There are strategies. I mean, in the US, I can share with them some of the strategies that they can use to have high impact diplomatic pushes, especially in the US.
So, sir, let me let's get to the chase here. So that's why we want to find out from you, from your perspective, analysis, and research. How would the international opinion, based on the narrative that Paul Biya has sold to them, based on the strategies Biya had put together, and we are seeing them working very actively. How is international opinion, the U.S. Congress position on this, not just the letter that 10 senators sent to the U.S. Secretary of State? We're talking about the U.S. Congress position. They specifically laid out some few things which they said Ambazonia should stop this, Ambazonia should stop this, Ambazonia should stop this. They never even mentioned even in the U.S. Congress position, they never mentioned the people's quest for restoration of independence. They never mentioned the people's quest that they want separation. They never even talk of Southern Cameroon as an entity that is advocating for restoration. They are talking about Southern Cameroons as an integral part of Cameroon, that the problems and all they emphasized was the need for a fair and all-inclusive dialogue in Cameroon. Now, how will this position, coupled with the EU position of the German parliament, the EU group that went to Cameroon to support the Musonge Bilingualism and Multiculturalism Commission that that is what will find lasting solutions to this problem. How is the international opinion going to shape what happens between La République du Cameroon and the people of Southern Cameroons, irrespective of what Ambazonian thing we are fighting for?
Look, the international community, at the end of it all, is going to follow what actually happens on the ground.
Okay.
The international community will have to, because at the moment, let's be clear, Biya is winning on the diplomatic front. He's still the president of Cameroon. Cameroon is still considered as a single country. We are the ones making our case for an independent Southern Cameroon.
Okay.
So we are the ones who have to convince the international community to take our position. So Biya already has his work cut for him. Now the thing is this. As I said before, independence is never given. You have to take it. Southern Cameroonians have to take it. But what we should also understand is that the international community cannot stand forever while Biya continues to murder its people. The international community has its limits. At this moment, its strategic interest the international community's strategic interest is still being protected by Biya. But Biya's atrocities at a certain point will surpass the benefits that the international community is getting, and so they will have now to turn against him. And as I said, the international community, I strongly believe, has given Biya to the end of this year to resolve that problem, or they start taking different measures. Now, what is actually happening, which is my biggest problem with the leadership of this revolution, is that we are not making our case enough. We are not going out there and making our case enough to the international community, coupled with the fact that, because the people in Ground Zero are doing a lot. We have the ghost towns, we have the school boycott, we have the self-defense. That is holding strong. At least at a certain level, it's holding strong.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is left is for the leadership in the diaspora and all Southern Cameroonians in the diaspora to take up, to also play their part, to push so that the international community hears us. The international community listens to us. Because at the end of it all, the international community will finally fall behind what is actually happening on the ground. And if on the ground we are pushing and we are pleading our case we are resisting in Ground Zero, we continue to resist in Ground Zero, and we continue to make a solid argument in the diaspora, the international community will have no other choice but to fall behind us. Now, let's understand one thing also. What is the U.S. position with Cameroon now? Cameroon, at this moment, is a strategic partner of the U.S. in its war against terrorism. Let's remember that Cameroon is one of the areas, the countries where the U.S. has actually established its AFRICOM, which is the Africa Command Center.
Yes.
We have drone bases. American drone bases are in Cameroon. So at this moment, America's interest is being protected by Biya. Biya is a strategic partner. So they will try to do what they can in order to maintain that strategic interest. So no matter what Biya does now, we even saw how even the Biya military killed an American missionary in Cameroon, and the state and the U.S. government was almost silent on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they are still trying to get Biya to solve this thing within, and they have given him time. And that's why you see even the senators. Now, some people are talking about the senators putting out messages. The senators don't get their report straight from Ground Zero from us if we don't give it to them, because we are not giving them enough information. Our guys are not forcefully. I'm not saying that not everybody. There are some individuals, Southern Cameroonians and Ambazonians who are doing great work on the ground at this diplomatic front. But at the level of leadership, there's very little that is being done. So the senators are not getting their information from us, our leadership. They are getting information from their own sources, which is the State Department. The State Department is the U.S. Foreign Ministry. It is in charge of, and it's represented in Cameroon by the ambassador. The ambassador's duty in Cameroon is to protect American interests in Cameroon. So let's understand the sequence of information flow here. Information is not getting so much to the senators from us because we don't have a clear diplomatic strategy. It's a strategy to push our struggle on the diplomatic front in the diaspora. So they are getting the information mostly from the State Department, which is the foreign ministry, through the embassy. They are getting the information through the Defense Department. The Defense Department through its AFRICOM, which is run by the Pentagon. That is the defense side. And they have bases in Cameroon which they need to protect. So our people are not, and this is my problem, we are not having real strategic diplomatic push in the diaspora. And that is why we are lacking behind. And when the international community puts out its message, we think sometimes we misunderstand and we take it as a victory to us. Or sometimes even those who understand it, they think that, okay, well, maybe the international community doesn't like us. It's simply because we are not getting our information out there. So that is for me not to belabor the point. That is how I make of this whole U.S.-Germany issue and the international community.
Also, I wanna ask you, as you know, based on the opinion we shaped about what is happening, as you've talked about the fact that Ground Zero holds the key to this revolution. Now, if Ground Zero holds the key to this revolution, we're going to talk about, by the way, for those of you that have joined us, if you don't know, we are having a conversation here, core conversation, an educational, a leadership strategy conversation on how will the U.S. Congress new report and position on Southern Cameroons, coupled with the United Nations Security Council position on the conflict in Southern Cameroon, how that would affect our quest for restoration of independence. We are also going to be talking about some surprises that Paul Biya has for the people of Southern Cameroons in order to to bring this revolution to an end and create the type of Cameroon he wants. There are surprises. We are going to be talking about those surprises very soon. What will be Paul Biya New Year surprises for the people of Southern Cameroons? All right? Now, sir, before we get into that, I want to ask you, Ground Zero holds the key to that. About 4 or 5 months ago, everywhere in Ambazonia was hot. From Manu to Meme to Fako to Momo to Mezan. Everywhere in Ambazonia. It was so crazy that the public military was disoriented. Manu was the hotbed of this revolution. About 3 months ago, something happened within this revolution. The Ambazonian people decided to, in the middle of a revolution, decided to adopt a new policy. They decided to adopt a policy called county by county. Out of a sudden, this was about 3 months ago, out of a sudden, everything on Ground Zero went quiet. Out of a sudden, generals and their troops were being arrested and disarmed. In the last 3 months, all the gains we have made to make Ambazonia, the Meme was almost 60% taken over and governed by Amba boys. We've lost all of those gains. There's a lot of places now, the Ambazonian people may not, there is a lot of places now, life has returned to almost normal for most places. So I want to ask you, where do the people go from here? Because if in the last 3 months, you could look at how Biya has managed to somewhat stabilize a lot of these things, in which has tilted international perspective and opinion to even encourage him to keep going the way he's going. If the Ambazonian people continue with this policy, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, where would this revolution be by the end of January 2019?
Look, I will say what I've said before about the county by county, which is something. Look, that is the most destructive policy that has ever been implemented in this revolution. Now, I'm not here to criticize anybody. I'm criticizing policies, not people.
Of course,
now,
that's what this platform is for. It's for policies. We don't care about what people do, but we care about the policies, leaders, people, activists, what they advocate for, what they promote, and what the people buy into, and how that will affect the revolution positively or negative. At the end of the day, we are here as educators. What happens, what the people decide to do with the information we provide, it's totally up to them.
So the thing is this. Because every time if I criticize somebody, it's because of the person's stubbornness to the revolution, not willing to learn and not willing to take advice and continues with policies that are destructive to the revolution. Now, let me be clear to the people. Look, county by county has been the most destructive policy in this revolution, and I'll say why. Two things. First of all, you said that the revolution, the guys on the ground were very, very effective before the implementation of this policy, and after this policy, things went wrong. Why so? Now, let's take a look at what county by county has done. It has compartmentalized this revolution, and then it has limited the effectiveness of the groups that were very, very that were the most active and the ones that were actually carrying on this revolution. Now, let's see, before county by county, we saw how our guys, the commanders, established groups across different counties, from the northern zone right down to the southern zone. They had a structure, a command structure, which they used, and those commanders and generals could move. They could move and speak to soldiers in different areas and coordinate strategies. But what the county by county strategy did, it brought in politicians who want to come and control the Amba soldiers. And these politicians, we know, were people who were just fighting. That some of them were in this revolution. They were simply there because they thought the revolution would be short-lived so that they can take up positions. And a lot of them have been bribed and taken over as big agents. But in addition to that, it has limited the capacity of our guys to move. Now, some generals are being considered as persona non grata in some other areas because that is not their county. You see, rather, these are people who were able to move. They were able to move from one county to another. They were able to move and talk to their soldiers and strategize with them. Now, when they move to one area, they are told that they are not from that area, and so they don't have they don't have any say there. Even the guys who were under them, some of those guys who went rogue, some of those guys who started committing atrocities, even these guys could not even the generals that they were working under could not even anymore control them, because they had taken these people who had come and said, okay, now you are under us, don't listen to these people, whatever they do, they don't belong to this county. And because of that infighting, because of that, there's no flexibility. Our guys cannot move. Look, for example, look at the case of General RK, which I don't know, maybe General RK, nobody knows where he is now, maybe they even killed him or something. And they're just hiding everything. We don't know. We heard he's still alive. But it's not completely verifiable yet. No, but if he's alive, I'm sure he's in a La Republique jail. I'm sure they just took him there where they wanted to keep him in La Republique jail. But that is not the case here. That's not the issue here. RK was very effective. We know that he was one of the most effective. That's why Boyo and that area from the far end of Mezam right to Menchu was very, very successful, simply because they could coordinate. RK could move from Mezam to Boyo to Menchu. And even to Ngokutunja, they were moving. That's how they were coordinating. And they were effective. But when the county by county thing came, now it says, okay, Mezam, handle your thing. Menchu, you go there. Boyo, you go there. Ngokutunja, you go there. Now it breaks that line of effectiveness. And I think sometimes I sit and think that the county by county strategy was a deliberate thing to kill the revolution, because we know that since after that everything has gone wrong. We know that the county by county thing, the saga actually started in Batibo.
And as we speak, when the groups have now trying to regroup in order to create a more robust guerrilla strategy on the ground, one of the key architects of the AMF has been nabbed, who's trying to re-strategize the guerrilla warfare on the ground to make sure all the 13 counties are boiling, and has been nabbed by La Republic intelligence, which is infiltrators have leaked out the information in order to continue this process. So there is a lot going on in this revolution, to either to intentionally or using La Republic intelligence to kill the revolution from within. You've pointed some of those things. You and I have talked about how Biya wants to kill the revolution, not to kill the revolution, but to take control of the revolution. And one of these groups called the AMF, that has been established now as a national army to run through all 13 counties and be effective and flexible and crisscross and move and develop effective guerrilla tactic and strategy that they could strike at any point at any time. Today, one of the core key architects of Amina has been nabbed by La Republic intelligence services. So these things are not just happening by chance. These things are happening right from within. So as you've rightly said, should this continue, should the Ambazonian people, whether they like it or not, this is their revolution. Should this continue as we've seen it go on? Because here is what is happening. You have a group of people, because now there is no national strategy. You don't see leaders coming out. You don't see a leader coming out and laying out a blueprint for liberation. So what you're seeing is leaders will go to this community and go have this private chat, right? You've actually seen Dr. Sako, the leader from the interim government, has completely disappeared over the face of the earth. I don't know whether he has become so ashamed or whatever of his failures. He's just disappeared. You don't hear from him anymore. You don't see him being active and engaging the people anymore. He's just reclusively, recoiled himself and just disappeared from the revolution. Now, some activists now are running the revolution on behalf of the interim government. So when you're looking at what is happening, a leader will go to this community and go have this private conversation here. They go to that community, go have that private conversation here. There is no cohesive strategy. Nothing comes together. So they go here, they raise $2,000. They go there, they raise $5,000. And you send $2,000 there, you send $3,000 there, you send $5,000 there. There is no cohesive strategy in which there can be coordination and massive mobilization of resources. So this thing in which we are doing, where we go here, we put 2 granotes here, we go there, we put 2 granotes here, we go there, we put 2 granotes there. If you look at, there is no effectiveness of anything on the ground. I'm from Manu. Look at the whole county of Manu. Nothing is happening. And the Ambazonian people are just following, yeah. The revolution is dying day in, day out, and Biya is making this massive progress. This sense of revolution, it seems as if we have lost what a revolution is. So can you help us? How can we reawaken a sense of that revolutionary spirit within the Ambazonian people? Because unless we understand what exactly is going on, people will be attached to their fame, to their significance, their Facebook fame and significance, and then Biya will take over Ambazonia. And all these little things we are doing here and there, which is, in my opinion, it's just a joke. How can we, sir, please, talk to the Ambazonian people. How can we reinvigorate the spirit of nationalism to get Ambazonia to wake up so that we can create a robust plan of massive mobilization in order to help our forces, the main groups on the ground, to give them what they need and get the job done? How can we do this, sir? Please, talk to our people.
You know, the thing is this, I think that the first thing our people should understand is that this revolution is the people's revolution of a specific a person or group of persons. This is the people's revolution. That means that we the Ambazonians, have the right to decide what happens based on what we know is right. Because in every single Ambazonian's mind, we know exactly what is happening. We just decided to put on group caps. We need to take off those caps and not think as somebody from the AGC, not think as somebody from the IG, not think as somebody from any group or Maurice or so-called. Let's think as Ambazonians. When we start thinking as Ambazonians with a goal to liberate Ambazonia, that is when we will start recognizing that if something is working, it is good. If it's not working, it is not good. And we have to work collectively to correct the things that are not good and push forward the things that are good. A lot of things are going wrong in this revolution, but sometimes it seems like it's our foolish pride or I don't know what is happening, that we are just so focused on sticking to groups and people, even when we know sometimes that things are doing is not wrong. We need to re-engage ourselves in this revolution as Ambazonians, not as specific groups. That is the first thing we should do. Now, the second thing which we should do has to do with leadership.
Okay.
Leadership should go back to the beginning of this revolution and ask themselves, what is our role in this revolution? What are we supposed to do in this revolution? Even in revolution, sometimes the popular things, the things that people think is popular is not the right thing. That's why we need to have strategic leaders who sometimes bring up things that are not, they don't look like they are the right thing, but they are able to explain to the people, educate the people that we need to do this and do this and do this. We have bought a lot of policies that people thought were right, and at the end we discover that it's killing the revolution. And we don't want to be wrong. That is the problem. We don't want to be wrong. We want to just prove ourselves to be right, and that's why we hang on even when we know everything is falling apart because of what we're doing. The leadership in this revolution is having a problem, a very serious problem. Now, let's be clear, and I think every Ambazonian knows this. For anybody who is refusing this, that person is living in denial, I mean to say. There are people in these revolutions who have been, there are people in this revolution who have been compromised. There are people in this revolution that today, some have taken bribes, some have been compromised through other means, through threats or something that the Republic is holding over them, and they are no more working for this revolution. And those people are destroying this revolution, and we know them, but we are so stuck on on just accepting things the way they are, because we are used to it. We are now like going back to La Republique. We are doing the same thing that La Republique is doing to us. That things are not working, let's just patch it. No, if things are not moving, we need to come back to the table and ask ourselves, what is not going right? And we restructure it. This is not a revolution to please any individual. Or any group. Let's remember, people are dying on the ground. Those people who are dying on the ground are not there. It's not because they sang somebody's name or another name. They're dying because of this revolution. And this is not the time to stick to be friends with some people, even if they are, it's time that people actually wake up and say, we need to take this revolution back. Now, ground zero, I'd just like to go back to something.
Please.
Ground zero is the key to this revolution. That is the truth. The resistance in ground zero makes the world to understand that the people are not happy. And that's why we need to keep the resistance. Now, we need to look at ghost towns. Ghost towns are working. There's no need to change anything concerning ghost towns. They are working, they are doing their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
We need, and we know that the ghost towns are actually draining the coffers of La Republique and sending away their international investors. Yes. I was watching a video today of how the banana plantations are all grown into bushes because people are not working there. Those things are owned by international community, by international organizations, and they are running away. So we are, in that sense, we are winning. The ghost towns are working. Second thing is the school boycott. We need to look at how to reinforce that. But look at a way to implement it in a way that it still sends a message to the international community that we are not happy. And then the third thing is self-defense. That is one area which has been a big problem since the introduction, since some groups decided to go and join. Now, I will say this, and every single Ambazonian should go and look at and try to study all revolutions. In all revolutions, we have political leaders. Those political leaders, they stay away. In the open, in the public eye, they stay away from the armed resistance. They stay away from that armed resistance because once you publicly endorse armed resistance, you block your path to diplomacy. A lot of people in international, a lot of diplomats, representatives will not want to meet you because it endangers their own political careers.
Stay there with me, sir, because this is very important. We did this analysis. Dr. Sako's credibility, as you rightly know based on the analysis we've been doing here, has, from what Capo Daniel has been publishing every day and from a lot of what has been happening, of the complaint of the fact that $900,000 were raised, they were embezzled, all the other money that were raised were embezzled. They've introduced the fact that Amber Boys should kill Amber Boys on the ground. They've introduced kidnapping for ransom on the ground, and the international community is listening to all of this. So my question to the Ambazonian people is, if the international community has rejected Paul Biya and they are only working with Biya in order to protect their interest, now Southern Cameroon wants to break away. They've adopted a leader, Siseko, who has been kidnapped, put another leader who has zero credibility whatsoever, doesn't have a personality that is appealing to the international community, and now with a serious criminal record, 2 warrants of arrest are waiting for him in Cameroons, in La Republique, and now just in a revolution, which we don't even have a country yet, the money for the treasury to fund the revolution has been embezzled. How would the international community, the US, Germany, England, how would they sit with this type of a leader who is not even the head of a nation, but has already shown this type of behaviors of killing, forming network groups, kidnapping for ransom, embezzling money, even in the diaspora, in countries where embezzlement, corruption, misappropriation is illegal. They've done that consistently since Dr. Sako took office. Everything that has been raised, embezzled. My trip to Biya, 900,000 embezzled. 50,000 that was contributed from the Washington conference, embezzled. Anything after that has been embezzled. Ground Zero has become a hotbed for kidnapping for ransom, where students are being kidnapped, and even in the US Congress report, the thing they want the Ambazonian people the most about is this kidnapping for ransom. That was one of the core key stressed. The US Congress really emphasized that Ambazonians, they must stop this kidnapping for ransom. So how would the international community, with someone with such a personality, this is not my opinion, everybody that is interested in doing this type of analysis and knowing how diplomacy works, how would Dr. Sako reclaim himself to be able to now continue to engage the international community with this garbage and disgrace or humiliation, which can disassociate him and make him not be able, and make these people not wanting to deal with him? How can the interim government do that?
You know, the one thing that all of us, as I said before, that we should think like Ambazonians, not as members of any group. That is one thing. That's what I want every single person who is listening to this now and who is going to listen to this after. Just put off your group cap and just listen as an Ambazonian. Now, let us understand one thing. We are demanding for a country of our own. We are asking the international community to give us a country of our own. A country that will respect its people, a country that will be stable, a country that will be progressive, a country that will respect international laws and create international friendships. Now, the international community is watching the way we are running this revolution, and they are making their assessment based on how we are running this revolution. What we are doing in this revolution will tell the international community whether they can really give us a state of our own, or if they give us a state, they are setting up another South Sudan. That has been La Republique's argument, and La Republique has always been telling the international community that if they give us a state, the international community is simply creating another South Sudan, which is going to be another war zone, a corrupt country in the world. So let us assess, every single Ambazonian assess this revolution and ask yourself that if you were in the international community and watching, and you had a decision to give Ambazonia a state, and you are watching the way we are running this revolution, would you really be convinced that we deserve a state? That is when you have people in the revolution asking our people to attack the UN, the UN, which is a gathering, a union of all the states in the world. You're asking them to attack the UN. That is one of the greatest crimes you can commit, international crimes that you can commit. And we have people who are saying, go and attack the international community, attack the UN, and then you are thinking that you can go now to the UN and make and speak and create some diplomatic connections. How does that work? These are some things. And if you look at our policies on the ground, look at our policies. Some of our groups are just running around, arresting people in public and doing all kinds of serious things which are totally against the Geneva Convention. And then the international community is watching, and then we expect the international community to come and support us. I mean, let us not be fooling ourselves. This is not about a group or a group of persons. This is about 8 million Southern Cameroonians and the people who are losing their lives every day. We have lost thousands of people. There is absolutely no place now in this revolution to stand behind anybody who is killing this revolution or who is doing anything that is bringing down this revolution. Our people need to understand that we need to conduct this revolution in a way that is going to show the international community that we are ready for a peaceful state. We are ready for a progressive state. We are ready for a stable state. We are ready for a state that is able to protect human rights a state that is willing to respect international law, create international friendship, be a successful member of the international community. But I'm sorry, we are not there. And then some people are still sitting there and say we are winning big, and they're still sitting and saying that everything is going well. This what I'm saying here is not a criticism of anybody or any group of persons. This is a criticism of how we Ambazonians are running these revolutions, and that we need to come back to the table and start thinking. Now, there's something which I said in the beginning, which not in the beginning, before you came on. I said we need to look at how this revolution is run. Yes. Who plays what role? In every revolution, there's a political wing of that revolution, which in no circumstance endorses publicly the defense wing, because that opens them. Because once you endorse and start even taking the military groups under you, then you block the doors for diplomacy. And that is the reason why our leadership has not been able to make any political move for months and months and months. We've not had anything political they have done. They're talking to us. The leadership is talking to us. Our activists online are talking to us. They're talking to Southern Cameroonians. Biya is talking to the international community. Biya is convincing the international community why they cannot allow us to be independent. We are talking to ourselves. We are not telling the international community. We are not convincing them why we need to be independent. And that is what is destroying this revolution. So that's why
since we have you here, because we like to ask you, how can Dr. Sako redeem himself to become someone that is credible enough for the international community to want to work with? Because whether the Ambazonian people, they like it or not, the interim government is one of the core key pillars of this revolution. And so if the leadership, it doesn't have the credibility and the integrity, the leadership doesn't have the credibility and the integrity for the international community to work with, then the revolution has a problem. It has a character problem. So whether we know it or not, whether we want to accept it or not, there is a character problem which is impacting the revolution. How can Dr. Sako redeem himself in the way that the international community can look at him as a man with character and integrity, and look at and bypass all of this kidnapping he's been advocating for, all of this embezzlement? Is it possible? And if it's not possible, what should the people within the interim government do in order to make that interim government reflect what this revolution is about? Because it's about the people, how we can move the revolution forward. But now the revolution is on a stalemate. The revolution is, if you look at, there's so much going on that the revolution is almost still. But Biya is making so much progress. That's why I'm asking this question over and over again, because this is a revolution that, if we are not very careful, as you have rightly predicted, by the end of this year, the Ambazonian people will probably be talking a different language here. So can Dr. Sako find a way to redeem himself? Is it possible? Can also, if not, what should the people within the interim government do in order to salvage that situation?
Look, let me not limit it to one person, Sako. Let me talk generally about this revolution. Look, okay. The problem that we have been having in Cameroon, being with Cameroon, is that we have been left out. We know that we have been left out. They don't consult us. We have always asked the Biya government to call us so that we can sit and talk. As Cameroonians, they have always ignored us. They have considered us as outsiders. That is the problem. And that is the same problem we are facing in this revolution now. Any group in this revolution that calls itself the leader of this revolution should be able to call all the other people and sit on the table, whether you agree with them or you don't agree with them. And push for a cooperation, because that is the same thing we have been asking. People have been asking us, so Biya should call the Southern Cameroonians, whether they agree with them or don't agree with them, so that they can sit and discuss this issue. But we are not doing that inside our own revolution. How do we expect Biya to do it? So what I'm saying is this. First of all, we need those people who call call themselves leaders to come together, put away their pride, and come together and look for ways to work together.
Okay.
Secondly, we need to define, we need to restructure. I think that what the IG has already done, which it's almost irreversible, is associating it's directly endorsing the armed struggle, because you cannot go back from that. When you go back from that, the international community already knows you as a military issue, not a diplomatic issue, a military group. But apart from that, I think they can still come together and set aside some people.
Okay, let me switch.
Who are there for diplomacy. Those people, they don't speak anything, and that's what I'm saying. That even the IT should have remained in diplomacy and not get into not get into the self-defense part.
Okay.
They should have left the self-defense with the people who are good at self-defense. We know that in this revolution there are some people who are specialists in self-defense. If one side is lacking, what happened was that earlier there was this competition, which means that when one group in its own function, when it started lacking in its own function, in order to show the people is doing something, had to move into the space of another group, and that's where this confusion started. Rather than just stay on your own lane, where you are best, where you should be very effective.
Yeah.
The IG should have stayed on the lane of diplomacy. Continue behind the scene, talking with the self-defense groups behind the scene, not openly. And also, when they are interviewed, they say, "Look, we, the people of Southern Cameroon, we don't endorse conflict. We don't want conflict. Biya brought it on us. We don't want it. Our people are defending themselves according to the international law."
Yeah.
Remember, that is what Siseko Ayotabe used to say. He was still able to make diplomatic moves because he never fully endorsed. I mean, in public, he never endorsed self-defense. Now, some people will say that there was pressure from people from the Ambazonian community for the IG to endorse this. No, the IG should have been strategic and educate the people through their surrogates. Educate the people that, look, we cannot be effective in this area and also be effective in the area. We cannot handle both together. But we are working with our people. But because of that pressure, they decided to just jump in, and then the chaos started. Okay. Diplomacy is blocked.
Good. So now we know where we are. Now we know where we are. That's what let's ask you the question again. You are the expert. Let's give our people an expert perspective here. Since we're on this, how can the people salvage this problem and forge a better path to give for self-defense to be the pillar of the revolution? How can we do that? Because not only are we running out of time because of how Biya has wrapped us into most of his strategies we've talked about here, is there a way out? What is the way out of this mess? That's what the people are interested to know.
Look, the thing is that the ground zero should re-strategize in terms of self-defense. I think what you have with the county by county is that is what is leading to a lot of our people being killed, our boys being killed in mass. I've always said that I don't endorse anything that requires our boys to go and put themselves in camps. They are not well armed. They don't have the training. When we comes with the sophisticated weapons, they don't stand a chance. That's the reason why we cannot have all of that. They should go back to the issue of to guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla warfare means that we don't have an army. We only have guys who are specific targets, high impact targets. We saw the burning of trucks. We saw the attack of certain places. Stop la public activities in our region. That should be the main work. Stop the public activities in our when their economic things that they're using, like the trucks that we use to transport sea. Stop all of that. Burn their gendarme stations, burn their police stations, But we are not talking about attacking people. It's not even important to attack even the Republic soldiers. Killing a Republic soldier doesn't mean anything to Biya, or killing 1 or 2 or 3 soldiers doesn't mean anything to them.
Yes.
Those soldiers are just doing their work. After all, the Republic just tell their family that that's the work he signed up for.
So are you saying, so if we hear you correctly, we have to change the type of education we're giving our people then. We have to change the type of we have to change the type of language we give our people then, because we have to if we need to change the system. So how do we go about from now forward, henceforth? What type of mindset? What type of inspiration do we need to be given, especially the people on ground zero? Because since our people do not have the type of sophistication to confront these mercenaries, they don't have the type of sophistication to confront these well-trained, well-equipped military, the best thing we need to do is to go back to do what works. To go back to do what works, which is not only to make Ambazonia ungovernable, but also to cripple the colonial financial interest, to cripple their business interest. Because the only reason for occupation, the only purpose of occupation is to gain access to vital natural resources. So when we cripple the infrastructure of their ability to extract and transport natural resources, we'll take away the advantages of occupation, and therefore occupation becomes needless and meaningless. And as a result, we put Ambazonia in a place where it becomes a contender. So give us some 1 or 2 strategies in order to revamp the way we communicate, because for me as a strategist, as a leadership coach, for me, I'm always looking for what is that edge, what is the advantage, what edge. If we put this strategy, bang, what kind of result would it bring to the Ambazonian people? So give us 1 or 2 strategies in which we can activate, and within the next few days, we start to propagate it, and so that we can see a whole new game change on the ground. Go ahead, sir.
Look, as I was saying, that I want to give 2 strategies, one for the diaspora and one for ground zero.
Okay.
For ground zero, for now, as I said, what they need to do is a guerrilla strategy. Attack their key resources. Stop them from carrying out activities in our region. That is what we should be focused on. And that doesn't take an army. And by so doing, we neutralize their beat, because they are sending a large amount of army. But that army cannot fight the people they cannot see. Mm-hmm. Because if in a county you have just 10 people, 10 committed guys who know what they are doing, they work in secret. They have these high target attacks that they go somewhere, they attack something, they disappear. Nobody knows where they are. What will I really do with this army? Will he go and kill everybody? They don't have boys to fight. We need a targeted strategy. One that gives that attacks their high value targets, which creates a lot of impact, which makes them actually cry. The death of one Republic soldier doesn't make Republic cry.
Even 50 doesn't make them cry.
Even 50 doesn't make them cry. But when you block their extraction of our resources, which is what they are looking for. Those people don't love us. They're not there because of us. It's not like they're taking us like brothers. If they were, the type of killings that we are seeing, that would not happen. They are killing us like we are not human beings. The way they are treating us, their soldiers are not acting like we are even human beings. They will kill you and then they burn you again just to tell you that you are nothing. That's how they see us. So what we should do is that we stop the activities from operating in our region. That's how we create high impact.
All right, Ambazonians. For you, those on ground zero, you've heard the message. We have to recalibrate. We have to recalibrate. If you're a foot soldier on the ground, Your life is so much more important. And if since you're not well armed, to go to try to face a military that is armed from head to toes, it's almost insane. Change the game. Go and do what Dr. Akwanga has been from day one emphasizing. What Dr. Cho has been emphasizing, which is high valuable their economic cost to impact their ability to extract and transport our resources is their only reason why they are there. And this does not need 50 people. Okay? It doesn't need 50 people in a county or a subdivision or a division to do this. 5, 4, 3 people with precise advice can be able to create an impact that even 100 La Republique military would not be able to contain. One Ambazonian can impact La Republique more than 50 Amber boys, what they can do. If we understand the psychology of guerrilla warfare and understanding the psychology of occupation. It is not about fighting La Republique military. It's not about killing their police or their gendarme. That is, all their bees, the army, the police and the gendarme are worthless to poor Biya. They are worthless to France. They are worthless to foreign interest. To make Ambazonia a contender, it is to look at the interest of occupation and foreign interest. To make Ambazonia a contender, it is to go after what the occupier is interested in. The occupier is not interested in your house. The occupier is not, the soldiers may be interested in your goods. The occupier, the only reason they send the military there is that the military should facilitate their ability to extract and transport our valuable resources. This revolution that social media populists that wants to gain fame through social media have diverted the revolution and turned it into something else. It's not what it's supposed to be. From this day forward, the message for those that have the brain, for those that are smart, for us to win this revolution, we must go back to the basics of what the masters, Dr. Cho, Dr. Akwanga, have helped us to hone. Go back to those basics. When you go back to those basics, I'm talking to the Amber boys now. This message is mostly for the Amber boys. Save your life. Stop trying to fight La Republique military. Go after the occupier's interest. 3 of you, 5 of you, 6 of you, 7 of you can cause more damage than 100 Amber boys try to use Dane guns and confront a monster. This is the goal. If we can cripple their ability to extract our resources and transport our resources, you make not only Ambazonia a contender, but you create a level of frustration within the occupier. You decapitulate their financial interest, we cripple their economy, so that we make La Republique economy should be on its knees. They have to come and beg Southern Cameroon for negotiation. La Republique should be begging us to talk to us, not us going to beg La Republique for peace. 65% of their GDP comes from Southern Cameroons. We own the wealth. But our mentality of fame, our mentality to be popular on Facebook affects the revolution on ground zero, because we're not giving our people the right education. We're only giving our people the education that will make us look good on Facebook. It's ground zero. That's the game. This is where it is. So our Amber boys, their work, their approach, their philosophy has to change. We have to give them a new orientation. I hope some generals, some commanders are listening to this. Go back to the core of what the real mission of an Amber boy is supposed to be. Go back to the core of the real mission of what a foot soldier is supposed to be doing for this revolution. That's your work. The great generals and commanders know this. But this need to reach every single person who is rising up to say, I want to defend Ambazonia. The occupiers' real interest is the target. And that's where our power lies. So there is something you also wanted to talk about. So that's what Ground Zero should do. What should the diaspora do?
No, in the diaspora, I've said this before. Ground Zero, the people in Ground Zero, our mothers, our fathers, our sisters, our brothers are sacrificing a lot for this revolution. They are having ghost towns, which is affecting them a lot. They are facing the Republic bullets every single day. The question I'm asking today is, what are we in the diaspora actually doing? What are we doing every single day? We cannot keep our children home from school. We cannot implement ghost towns. We are not facing bullets. What are we doing as Southern Cameroonians to show the people in Ground Zero that this fight is our fight? We need to stand up. It is the duty of every single Southern Cameroonian to be part of this movement, to show something. We need to re-engage the international community. And we need leadership in this. Now, what I was expecting our leaders to do, because some people will say, yeah, there are people tweeting, there are people doing, but it's all haphazard. Go to Twitter and see it. We don't have any focused Twitter group. And that's why we said, as I'm reminding, and I think you're going to remind them, that we have this group which is called Peace Plant. We tweet there, we share tweets from other people, from other we share tweets from other activists there. You just go there, all you do is just share it. We have already put the hashtags, we have addressed it to different organizations. And if one tweet is shared 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 times, that means if CNN is receiving the same tweet 5,000 times, they will act.
Yeah. If
the U.S. Congress is receiving that same amount of tweets, they will act. All of us. So sometimes let's also leave these leaders aside and look at ourselves and ask ourselves, what are we doing?
So can you suggest two things? From your opinion, from your perspective, you think that, because if you look at the people on Ground Zero, our people on Ground Zero, not only are they living in bushes, not only do they not have medical, even if they are sick, even if a mother wants to give birth to a baby, she has to go to the bushes in order to do that safe. There are no more hospitals, right? They don't have access to water. They don't have access to electricity, right? They are being killed. So the people on Ground Zero, our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, our sisters on Ground Zero, they are paying the ultimate price for this revolution for us all. In the diaspora, what are the two things? Because I want to say this to you, sir. We saw the day that our leaders, Siseku, the Patasan, the Panfongalanfo, the Elias Yambe, all of our leaders, when they took them to the colonial military tribunal in Yaoundé, and we saw those colonial flags, our leaders, in a colonial court. On that same day, we never rose up as a people to tell La République, we don't accept this. Nothing happened on Ground Zero at such a level which sends a powerful message to La République that those are our leaders, don't mess up with them. At the same time, in the diaspora, we also never showed any sign of anger and resistance to tell La République, if you mess up with our leaders, you better free our leaders now. So what are the two things now? Because on January 7th or 9th, I think it's the 7th or the 9th, our leaders will be going back to court. Before January 7th and 9th, what are the two things the diaspora must start doing in order to keep the revolution internationalized. What are those two things?
I'm calling on Sako. I'm calling on Ayabacho. I'm calling on Dr. Akwanga. I'm calling on Bohebet. I'm calling all the leaders to organize, to come together and set up and declare that day a day of protest. They should organize protests across the whole world. Send out communiques asking people to go in front of embassies and tell the world and bring some light to this issue, so that the international community know that yes, our leaders are in court this day in one of the greatest injustice of current history. You should talk, and this is something that it should not be limited to that. We saw the massive killing and burning of our people. Everybody was quiet. Everybody was just there. Some people were tweeting. And then we're posting on Facebook on our pages. On our pages we're talking to ourselves. We need to have, that's why I say we need strong leadership that can, in times like this, call on the people, rally the people to go out. If in the major cities in the world, we saw Ambazonians going out with not many images, just the images of our boys in Bali who were killed and burned, just those two images, the ones that are alive and the ones that are burned, and they go around and the major cities, the world will pick it up, because the whole world will be seeing that one image. That very image all across the world we are showing them. That is what we Ambazonians should be doing as a sign to the people in Ground Zero that we are with them. That we are also observing our own ghost town. But we are also observing our own school boycott. That we are also facing bullets. We should be doing that. We cannot leave it to Ground Zero. So the leadership should do something. Now we should. Another thing is that we have these constant images coming from Ground Zero of our people killed. As I discussed with you, comrade, we are collecting this information and we are putting them on Twitter as they come in. We just want our people to share. Just share it. We have put the hashtags, we have put all the necessary things that once you just share, it goes to those people, it goes to the organizations that are targeted. And how many Ambazonians are in the diaspora?
More than 2 million.
I'm not talking about diaspora because even on Ground Zero you can also share. But if we have those tweets every day, you just go to that Twitter page, to that Twitter account, you just look at it, you see what is there. It's just a click of a button, just a click. You share it, that's all. You don't need to do anything. We prepare the tweets and everything. It creates impact.
That's right.
Now, something I want to say to our leaders. Now we are talking, especially now that we have this case, the letter from the Senate. People are talking about all the different targeted diplomacies. I see how some people are going to places that are not unnecessary. In the US, we have strategic places that will listen, that deal with our issues, that will listen to our issues because that is their domain.
US State Department.
All the rest are just support areas that will push those people to go on. The first that we should know is the State Department. The State Department, the U.S. State Department, that is where we should be protesting. That is where we should be sending messages and tweets and everything, telling them, look, listen, because the State Department is like the U.S. Foreign Affairs Office. They deal directly. And let us look at the State Department, the area which is in charge of Africa or Sub-Saharan Africa. Who is in charge of that place? That is where we should be targeting them. Another one is the Senate. We have the Senate, but not all the senators.
The Foreign Relations Committee.
Yeah, the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Senate. And inside the Foreign Affairs Committee, we also have a subcommittee which is in charge of Africa and global health. The leader of that committee, of that subcommittee, is Jeff Blake. Is Senator Jeff Blake of Arizona. the ranking member is Ed Mackey of it's a Democrat. Those who are living in the, or I mean to say, he's actually Cory Booker from New Jersey. Those are the people we should be targeting because they are in charge of African affairs in the committee in the Senate that is in charge of Africa, in charge of international relations. And you can just go to the internet and you will see all the members of the Foreign Affairs Committee.
All right, we will take this information which you have said today. We are going to take this information and put it on the Peace Plan Movement page. All right. So we're going to take this information and put it on the Peace Plan Movement page. So those are the two strategies for the diaspora. We've given a strategy for Ground Zero and we've given a strategy for the diaspora. Now, we're coming to the final segment, which is the most important aspect of this broadcast actually. So, sir, can you help us now to, you talked about, you and I talked about the fact that Biya has a surprise. Biya is about to unleash a surprise on the Ambazonian people. And can you help us to know what that New Year surprise is?
Now, let's remember, before I go to that surprise, let me just say something. Our hero, Honorable Wiba, stood in the parliament and said that our people, that they treat us as dogs, that they can beat us, maim us, kill us, and then throw us bones so that we should be fighting with. That's how they treat us, and that's the truth. Biya is going to do a cabinet reshufflement. We know that. Biya, since his election, he has not done his new cabinet. Now, if you are watching carefully what is happening in Cameroon, amongst the Cameroon Anglophone politicians, and some of those people who have been trying to stand out in the Anglophone community, you see that they are all now fighting. They are all now fighting to feature in the Biya new cabinet. Biya is going to make some real big changes to show the international community that it is handling our issue. Biya said that he said that he was going to give a little bit more rights, that he's going to give more consideration to the Anglophone English-speaking Cameroonians. That was his speech I think it is his inauguration speech. He made something like that. What Biya is going to do is that in this cabinet reshufflement, Biya is going to throw that bone that Wiba was talking about. And he has not thrown it. He's still holding it in his hands. And we can already see some of our so-called elites already fighting. We need to be very, very careful. Whatever Biya does, whatever position or changes he makes, it is not going to be equal to the suffering that our people are going through. It is not going to be equal to the pain, the killings that we are going through. If we accept any of those things that Biya will throw at us, his bombs that he's preparing to throw at us, if we accept that, then we have actually told the world that we are dogs. As Wiba said, they consider us as dogs. We will be telling the world that yes, we are dogs. They have beaten us, they have killed us, they have maimed us, and then they are throwing bones now, and we are fighting over. We need to and I'm sure Biya is going to announce something, either just before the end of the year or during his New Year speech. Biya is going to announce something, and he's going to be somehow of giving the people of Ambazonia maybe more seats in his government or trying to shift. I understand. Let us remember that Biya has, according to the Constitution of Cameroon, the first is the president. If the president dies, the Senate president takes over. He used to be the president of the National Assembly. And we have for a long time been always like a third position in that in the country in terms of I think after Muna, was it Muna or Fanta Shan Laura Morris or something. See, after that we have been pushed down. They may try as much as possible to give us, to take us a little bit up the ladder by giving us a post which is second to president. But I know their problem now is that they have an agreement with the North. The North has always stood for being first or second. The North will not go to third position. And so for Biya to stay, I think he has a problem, but they are going to try to make some changes that will seem to give us more rights. Let's know that anything Biya does is not equal. It doesn't even come close to what the suffering that we're going through, the number of people that we have killed, and we should not accept it. From January, we should start asking our people, those people who call themselves elites, to start pulling themselves from Biya government. In Biya's new reshufflement, any single Southern Cameroonian who decides to take position in Biya's government has declared himself persona non grata in our region.
But sir, you know, sir, which is what you've said. It's quite clear from the perspective of which you and I speak from. But you know how hungry our people are for power. You know how hungry our people are for fame. They rather kill the revolution and have a position in a ministry. They rather kill the revolution and have fame. They rather kill the revolution and help and make Biya's plan to keep Cameroon as one than for what we have said. So what can the Ambazonian people do to prepare themselves? Because as we've said, we've consistently predicted how the revolution will turn out in every phase. What are the events? What are the things? Now we are telling you up front, there will be a Biya surprise in his new cabinet as a way to lower down the temperament within the Southern Cameroons uprising and conflict in order to make the people feel that they have become more inclusive in the new Cameroon. There will be changes coming on. There will be a lot of promises that will be made of investment in the Southwest and in the Northwest. There will be promises made to rebuild those homes. There will be promises made to compensate people. There will be promises made for those that are refugees in Nigeria. There will be some form of compensation. And we have seen this already happening. Remember, the moderator of the Presbyterian Church, just 2 days or 3 days ago, went to Nigeria. This was someone who attended the Biya ceremony. So they're already making these plans to use these church leaders to help them go to these places and start to talk to our people to soften their stance. They will use a lot of these religious organizations, people like the Tumi and stuff, to do the heavy lifting on behalf of poor Biya. And that's why even in the Tumi Munzo conference, there were only two options. The options of, do we want to continue as a form of government, the centralized system of government, or do we want federation? Those were the two options. So everything they are talking about is the context to keep Southern Cameroons as part of La Republique, even in the Tumi Munzo conference. And we had a talk with some of the organizers, and the reason they said, look at where we are. We are here. We can't say anything that goes against Cameroon Constitution because we've been thrown in jail. So that's why we are helping to put this online questionnaire to ask the people what other forms of government do they want. If they want separation, then they should state it so that we can now advocate that, but it shouldn't come from them. So understand, this is the psychology. We're giving you the psychology. We're giving you what Biya is about to do. Because consistently, through our education, research, and analysis, we've been able to predict every single step and strategy of the Biya revolution. Now we are coming to help you to prepare yourself so that you don't get caught up in the new year, because it's part of the strategy. It's part of the baiting, na hook. When you want to go hook, you take a worm, you put them for hook, and then you throw them, the fish can fall on top. Now that is part of the baiting, the bait Biya wants to use in order to soften these final phases as they have concluded. The revolution is coming to an end. So they will use cabinet reshufflement. There will be some form of a restructure within the Republic government. They will soften their stand. They will make a lot of promises to rebuild those homes and to make compensations for those that have been wounded, those that have been killed, those whose businesses have been destroyed. These will be promises. These will all be promises. In Cameroon, in Biya's Cameroon, the country he has created, which is the most corrupt nation on the face of the earth, something that's supposed to be done with $1 will end up being costing $5, and at the end, they can't have the money for it. So there will be a lot of promises made on paper. They cannot implement it because it's a country that has never implemented anything. It took them 23 years for them to even come back to say we want to implement decentralization. Ambazonian people don't have 23 years. This is a revolution of our lifetime. If we are really interested in liberating Ambazonia and securing our restoration of independence, it's not up to Paul Biya. It's not up to the West. It's up to what we are capable of accepting to do for ourselves. Biya is a manipulator. He has experts that he uses, and they use social engineering in order to manipulate people. They've done that consistently, including all of his commissions he has created. Those are all social engineering programs in order to wrap the people through a system in which they get weakened as we try to agitate, as we try to rebel, as we protest and fight for restoration of independence. So they are going to launch new strategies coming up. So my people, let's wake up. Let's understand no amount of political appointment, which I've defined. According to Paul Biya, a political appointment is equal development to the people. It's not. Cameroon is not a country that is focused on development and improvement of the quality of life for its people. Even after Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians have protested for over 2 years plus now, the result has been what? Persistent brutality, killing, intimidation, terrorism, and burning. That is their strategy. So a lot of what we've done will be things done on paper in order to give you a false illusion. Cameroon is not ready for change. Cameroon is not ready to build for nation building. Cameroon is ready to keep the dictator in power in order to protect the colonial master's economic interest. So Ambazonians, you need to wake up. And that's why we're bringing in key experts that are the best in the world at what they do. They can help us do this type of to take complexity and reduce it to processes and thought processes and ideas and information in a way that we all can understand it, and then we can do something about it. My goal is to get us to get out of the social Facebook hypnosis and fame, which is killing the revolution, to get to the real work on the ground and in the diaspora, which can give us the independence we are seeking. So, sir, from your opinion, you've talked about the Biya surprise. What should the people be prepared for so that they are not taken by surprise?
Look, what we should be prepared for, let's understand one thing. Biya is not speaking to us. Biya's concern is not the people of Southern Cameroon. Biya's concern is how the international community looks at him and how he's able to maintain their control over our resources. Biya, the one thing we should understand is that Biya is not a president. Biya is simply the CEO of this company that they have put him there. He's not even the CEO. He's just the foreman of this company that they have put him there. And they just extract the resources and then they give him crumbs. And they put him in nice hotels and open some bank account for him and he thinks he's living well. Biya is just the CEO. And so they are planning behind. They are working hard behind to make sure that they maintain the status quo. Biya is going to do. They're going to do a lot. He has launched the disarmament thing. And look, in a few days to come, few weeks to come, you will see they will organize a fake. They will organize a fake disarmament. They will collect some people, maybe guys that have arrested, maybe some big soldiers. give them then guns and this and bring them in front of the camera.
All military recruits. They will use some of their military recruits.
Yeah, that's what they will do. And then you know what they will do after that? They will launch a recruitment for Ambazonians. They will say that reintegrating these guys now. So they are going to organize something that they are now taking these guys from terrorists that are bringing them into the regular forces. You will see. Let Southern Cameroonians know this. You will see another recruitment of forces. They will do something, and what we should know is that they are not speaking to us. The Republic is not doing all of this because of us, because they love us or because they want to be with us. They are doing this just to tell the international community, which is putting pressure on them, that they are doing something. And that's why you see, if you see the German parliamentarians who came to Cameroon, yeah, they are endorsing this because this is what they're looking for. So they're putting pressure for Biya to do something. Biya is going to try to give us some positions. He's going to try to remember. Biya has already declared that he has won the war by creating the disarmament. Disarmament is telling the world that we have neutralized all the radical forces. Now those who are left are just the few who were radicalized. Now what we just need to do is to rehabilitate and integrate them. And then they will just launch some of their thing and say, okay, now we have brought them into the... And look, it doesn't matter what we think. That is the problem in this revolution.
Say it, sir. Say it.
The problem in this revolution, our leaders don't understand, is that Biya doesn't care what we think. Biya is not talking to us. They will do anything that they want to do. It doesn't matter what we people of Southern Cameroon think. Biya cares only what the international community thinks. He cares about the narrative that he's giving. So all the fake things that he's setting up, it's not for us. It's for the international community to see. And that is the reason why I have a problem with this revolution, in that we are focused, our activists and leaders focus so much on talking to us. They are preaching to us, telling us this is good, this is going here. I don't see the same thing that they are doing. They should be doing, rather than talking to the people of Ambazonia, talk to the international community.
That's right.
Go to the corridors of diplomacy and talk and make the people's voice hear. All what you're telling us, we know. Don't come and tell us that our boys were killed. Yeah, we know that our neighbors, that our children, that our mothers, our fathers, they were killed. We know. Don't come online and tell us that they were killed. It's nothing. Tell the international community. And if we are acting like, if we copy, sometimes we even need to copy some of Biya's strategies by realizing that we are not talking to Biya, we are talking to the international community. We are pressing, we are showing the world what, in a very strategic and targeted way.
That's right.
We are telling the world that this is what Biya is doing to us, and this is what the international community need to support us to achieve. And this is how we are going to become. This is how we are going to become if we achieve our states. That goes to how we conduct this revolution. The words we utter. So it's the whole thing is, as I said, this revolution is the people's revolution. This revolution is the people of Ambazonia, the people of Southern Cameroon, who have woken up. The time for elites is over. The time that we used to listen to this minister, this director general, this senator, this parliamentarian, that time is over. Those elites, that time we listen to elites is over. So let's not come within our own revolution and create the same system that we're running away from.
That's right.
It's not a revolution of elites. We have reason, and I'm very sure that the people will continue to resist, even no matter what Biya does, because Biya is still going to appoint his so-called people that he has always been appointing. He's going to try to bring some few people in that he thinks that are close to the revolution in order to convince the people. But let them understand that the people at this stage have rejected the elites. The people have rejected the elites. We are no more listening to those elites. And so if he appoints them again there, it makes no difference to us. We this is not a revolution we will not be fooled again.
All
and
right.
so in our revolution, I'm telling all Southern Cameroonians, all those in this struggle, let us not create elites in this revolution. That is what we are running away from. Every single Southern Cameroonian is an activist and is a leader. If the leaders, if we have even you're talking even about the religious leaders, let us remember the religious leaders are chosen. God instructed the people to choose the leaders among them. God did not come and choose the leaders for us. God instructed the people to choose a leader among them. And the moment that leader stops serving the people, that leader stops becoming the leader of the people. Be you a political leader, be you a religious leader, be you a leader of any area of life, the moment you stop serving the people, you start working against the interest of the people, you are no more a leader in the sight of the people. You are no more an ordained leader by God.
Okay.
So if I'm saying this to the moderator, if now the Republic is using them to do its dirty work, after all the killings of our people, let them realize that we will reject them. We will reject them because they are no more standing for the people. They are standing for the people who are oppressing us. And so they are no more our leaders.
All right.
Anybody, and that goes to for people in this revolution, any leader in this revolution who has stopped working for the people of this revolution and is working for himself or for his own interest, that person has stopped to become, is no longer a leader in this revolution, and the people will not listen to it. And let them remember, the people of we are now wiser. The people of Ambazonia are now wise.
For sure.
We take things serious.
Yes.
After all, we've seen blood, we've seen torture, we've seen blood, we've seen our people burned to ashes. What have we not seen? That some people some other people will come. Why would they throw at us that we don't know? What else would they throw at us that we don't know?
All right.
People should stay firm.
So our people, you have heard it, that there will be some Biya surprises coming up in the next two weeks, just at the end of the year. We've given you the psychology as to why Biya will do that. So what should we take out of the conclusion of this message? Number one, most Biya is not talking to Ambazonians. The policy Biya makes are not for the interest of the Ambazonians, are not for the interest of Southern Cameroonians. They are for the interest to give a perception to the international community that Biya is taking concrete steps to find lasting solutions to the conflict and therefore end our quest for the restoration of independence. Biya is not all the policies and speeches and commissions is forming. They are to create a perception to the international community, or for the international community, to look at Biya as someone who is taking concrete steps because they are putting pressure on him to resolve this conflict, and therefore at the end sit down with the people he preferred to, because he's taking control of the revolution the way he wanted to, sit down with the people he wanted to, and have the dialogue with the Cameroon Biya wants to create, not the Cameroon we want. So that's our discussion for today. We hope we've empowered you enough that with this new information, we can wake up tonight after listening to this and start thinking differently, because when we think differently, we behave differently. Okay? Let's end this by, let me remind you all of a great quote by Albert Einstein. He said, the level of thinking that has taken you to where you are will not be the same level of thinking that will get you to where you want to be. What we have used to get to this point the behaviors, the leadership, the way we do things will not be what will help us to be free. It's just helped us to be here. To get to the next level, we must adopt a new mindset, a new behaviors, new way of doing things, a new way of speaking. Instead of talking to the Ambazonian people, which is what all leaders do, all activists do, let's start to have the conversation with the international community. And that's why for us, we created this platform to be a unique place, not for popularity, but to have a unique kind of leadership education. And that's what makes it very unique. For those small group of people that are interested to get real education that creates impact. That's what it's about. So leadership, it's not a contest of popularity. Leadership, it's about making an impact through profound information that once applied, we can see immediate results. And that's what I and my friend, my brother, and a nationalist, a researcher, a university lecturer, a professor, that's what we've been able to bring on board on a consistent basis. It's a unique insight to leadership, especially the Biya psychology and the international psychology. And now we're also unraveling the Ambazonian psychology. All right? So we hope you've been nourished today, you've been informed today, you've been educated today. Our education has nothing to do with a leader or a personality or a group. We are educating you on what's not working and how we can make it work. That's what we are about. We are not interested in group politics. I'm not interested in what this group is doing or that group is doing. Neither does our professor, our brother. We are not interested in those things. As educators, as experts, as leadership strategists, our whole goal is to take very complex ideas, break them down in the way, and then simplify them for everybody to be able to understand them and then make sense of situations so that we can make new decisions that create new impact. All right? So, sir, do you what do you want to say to our viewers that have been watching us, following our work, and that everything we've said consistently has proven to be true along? What do you say to those that have been participating in this discussion?
I just want to say that, we today find ourselves in a position that nobody will want to find himself in. The killings, the suffering, the brutality, the way these people are treating us. We didn't ask for that.
Yes.
And we have found ourselves in it, and we need to do something to make sure it never happens again. Biya has emboldened his soldiers to know that if somebody is an Anglophone, that person is not a human being. You can shoot that person and kill that person, doesn't matter. They have treated us, if you look at their legal systems, when they arrest an Anglophone, you go straight to jail. Excuse me, somebody was calling me. So what they have done is that they have made us to be less than humans in that country. I don't see any place in the world, I don't see any country in the world where people are being treated with such brutality. The last time I saw this was in the concentration camps in Nazi Germany. And sorry, somebody's trying to call me. But I just want to tell our people, we have come to a level where we cannot turn back. We cannot. If we turn back today, we are going to a position which is far more worse than what we were ever in. We will become less than slaves in that country. Their military has come there to stay and to make sure that we never ever raise our voice in protest again for anything. That our children will never ever have a voice. We need to succeed in this. Or if you are in the diaspora, just remain there. If you are if you are in ground zero, the best will be to leave, and that's what they want. That's what they want. They want us to leave. They want us to leave the resources for them. They don't care about us. We cannot give up now. After what they have done to us and what they continue to do, these people are demons. Just think, you guys think about it. How can they treat people like that? Look at the way they kill us. Look at the way our grandmothers are dying. If they come and they just look at you and you look somewhere, they just burn your house, they shoot you, they may rape your children or something, and nobody, and it has become normal to them. To them, it's normal. It's not, they don't even think twice. That is a demonic, those are demons that we need to do everything possible for them to leave our land.
All right.
The people in ground zero, they have suffered a lot. People in ground zero have suffered and they continue to suffer. We in the diaspora, we need to step up our game to show that we are in solidarity with them. We cannot implement ghost towns in the diaspora. We cannot implement school boycott. We are not facing bullets. We need to step up our own game in our own way, because we are all in this together.
Good. And that brought us to the end of our live broadcast today. On behalf of this platform, I would like to take this moment to express our great gratitude to our brother, to our friend, it's very late where he is right now, and he's taking the time to talk to us, to inspire us, to give us hope, to educate us and give us insights as to what Biya is doing so that we can recalibrate our own strategies. So on behalf of this platform, sir, we thank you so much. And I also want to take the time to thank the viewers for your patience. Sometimes we promise that we're going to be here for an hour and we end up being for 2 hours because the conversation is much more broader than what we want to deliver, because there is so much information that flows when we have this type of conversation. So, sir, thank you so much for your love for the Ambazonian people. Thank you so much for taking this wealth of knowledge and insights that you've acquired through the years and your ability to do empirical research and bring that understanding to the Ambazonian people. So, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much. My thank you go to the people of Ground Zero, to our brave fighters, to our mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters who are braving this demonic regime. We cannot thank you. We cannot express how much gratitude we have for you. Just hold strong, and we will be free. One day we will reach that promised land. Thank you all, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Good night.
And for you viewers, thank you so much for participating. We send you love. May the love of God be upon you. May your footsteps be protected. May you be guided. May you be comforted in the sorrow that we all go through. And to our brave foot soldiers, may every step you take to do the work to free Ambazonia be safe. We call upon all Ambazonians, especially in the diaspora, that in the coming week, in the coming days, as the year comes to an end, that we are going to intensify our own contributions, especially international demonstrations, to let the world know what our people are going through. So for all you that have been watching, have yourself a beautiful night, have beautiful sleep, live in peace, and may God continue to give you the strength, the energy, and the resilience until Ambazonia is liberated. I send my love out to you and your family. Have yourself. By the way, before we go, I know there's a few people that have been asking for my number. My number is public. My number is +1 905 782 0911. The number again is +1 905 782 0911. You can contact me through WhatsApp. Before you call me, please just send me a message of who you are, and then I'll be able to respond to you, because we get a lot of calls from La Republique agents. So we want to make sure that we're filtering in the call so that we can be able, I can only make my time be available for those that are willing to have the kind of conversation that will move our revolution forward. All right? So have yourself a beautiful night. I love you all, and may God bless you. Good night, and thanks for participating.